Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Keith McDevitt. Welcome to the weekly NewCarAds.com auto chat hangout. Have a really great program for you this morning, and want to thank you for coming along and joining us. We have a very special guest with us today, Josh Bailey, who's the Vice President of Research and Editorial at Canadian Black Book. Josh, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks Keith.
Thanks for getting bright-eyed and bushy-tailed off a flight. You were down in where were you yesterday? You just
Phoenix, Arizona.
Ah, lucky you. It's a lot nicer there than it is here today.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We brought Josh along this morning so you could have a look, and I'm going to get him in a little bit while to show you about their. They have a terrific tool, their vehicle evaluator tool, that you can use to find out what your vehicle's worth as a trade-in. So as you're going into a dealership, you've got this great tool. I've used it a number of times, and it's really been a godsend. So we'll bring Josh in a few minutes and give you a sense of how that tool works, and a couple of other things at Black Book as well, if there's things there Josh wants to bring up. Thought I'd also take a few minutes and walk you through some updates we've made to the website, as well as tell you about some of the manufacturers that have come on most recently. Actually, we'll do that right now. We're really happy to announce that Mazda Canada joined us earlier this week. We've also brought a number of Toyota and Lexus dealers in the Greater Toronto area on board. We also, as of yesterday actually, brought the FAF Automotive Group on board, and they are a high-end retailer of Porsche, McLaren, Audi, Volkswagen, and they also have a Toyota store up in Orangeville. So we're really happy to have them. They come on board and are joining Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Fiat, Ram, Hyundai, Nissan, Infiniti, BMW, a couple other brands as well. We're just finalizing agreements with. If you're interested in trying the site out, it's live. You can try it out. Looking forward to having people use the site, and certainly give us their feedback and thoughts on value it provides. And what I thought I would do quickly is just do a very quick walkthrough of the site. The site's really designed to be a very simple tool. So what we do is we consolidate all the advertising from the manufacturers and their dealers online in one place. So you don't need to be buying newspapers anymore. None of that stuff. You can come online, find the local offers, and they don't need to just be local. And I'll walk you through that in a second. So it's very simple to use. You just search by make. In this case, I'll look for Hyundai. I can search by model, by vehicle type. I can put in my city, but to be honest, putting in a postal code is a much better solution, and that's really just a function from a search standpoint. It'll give you a much cleaner and more detailed search. So I put my postal code in, and that's really the one thing I have to have. You can just put your postal code in and start from there, and we'll walk you through. But in this case, just for the sake of the demo, I'm just going to show you a quick Hyundai search. Keywords, I could put in lease, and so the system will only bring back ads that have a lease component to them. This tool is really neat. It's our distance bar, and again, it's tied into your postal code, so again, another reason to use a postal code. You know, some people may find that they don't want to look for a car near home, they want to look at something that's close to where they live. So in this case, my search radius, I've set 100 kilometers or less, so now the system's going to feed back all the ads in the system that fit in that. In this case right now, we've got a Hyundai ad. I simply click on it. The ad comes up. Now I can look at it in this viewing window here. It's pretty good, but if I want to get it even bigger, I just click on the view full page, and now I've got it massively in my face. One of the neat things you can do is from here and from this ad, you can now go and visit dealer websites, get to the manufacturer website. You simply click on these links across the top, and they'll take you to not only the manufacturer or the dealer for this ad, but you can actually find out where everyone is in the province. Other useful tools that we've got: saving the search. That just makes it easy when you come back next time to continue on from where you are. Creating an ad alert is a really neat feature where you're essentially telling us what you're shopping for, and we'll advise you with emails when new ads come into the system for those vehicles. So we kind of do the work for you and make it an even simpler process. You can print an ad. You can save the ad, so the next time you want to do some comparisons, it's in your saved ad portfolio. The really neat thing about saving an ad is, if you'll notice down here, they all have expiry dates. As you get close to the expiry, we'll send you an email and say, hey Keith, this Hyundai ad's expiring. You know, if you're really interested in the offer, you better get going. So just a neat little tool to help you as you're going through that process. You can email ads to friends, or you can share them across a variety of social networks and share them that way as well. That's really a synopsis of what the site's all about. What I did want to do, though, was get Josh to come in just a moment, and I just want to have him talk about the Canadian Black Book Estimator tool. And you can link to it right from this site. We think it's a great tool, and the idea being that as you're shopping for a new car, it's pretty critical to have a sense of what your current car is worth as a trade-in. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn things over to Josh, and he can have some time just to talk about the tool.
We've got all sorts of content. We, of course, have listings for new and used cars so people can come in and take a look and see what's available in their area or areas beyond. We have some news and reviews as well, so people can come and get a, well, there's something about the Jag F-Type. What a lot of fun that car is to drive. But we've also got some other content there as well, so driving tips for wintertime and other great stuff. But the real attraction to the site, of course, is, as you alluded to, Keith, the trade-in information. And there's a couple of other value tools as well, which I'll talk about briefly, but most people come here to find out what their trade-in is going to be, likely going to be worth when they come in. We do say it is an estimate, of course, without seeing the car. It's really difficult to say, well, it's worth X dollars precisely. So we'll come to that at the end, though. So let's take a look at something, a very common car. How about we choose a Honda Civic, Canada's top-selling car. So you just choose the year and the make to begin with and enter your postal code. And then we move on to the second step, and you have the selection here, as you can see in the middle of the screen, of which make and model. So we're going to choose the Civic. And there we go. I think because we're doing the video, it's eating up a lot of my bandwidth. It's usually a little quicker. And then we'll choose trade-in value. You can see there's two other options as well. We have in the middle of the screen future value, which is a forecast of what the car will be worth, an average asking price, and that's a culmination of all the 2010 Honda Civics that are on CanadianBlack.com right now. So let's start though with the trade-in value. And as you can see, we need a little more information because there are several versions of the DXG, which is probably one of the more common versions. And we'll do the sedan. So you can see here there's anything, if there's something like a sunroof on your car or leather seats, DVD, entertainment system, all those kinds of things will show up in here. And if in this case you happen to have a manual transmission, then you check off this box without auto transmission. But we'll leave those alone for now, and we'll enter in an odometer reading. Got 87,500 K on this one. Click continue, and now you can see we give you a range of values. So anywhere between $85, almost $8,600 and $10,200 is what these Honda Civics are going for these days as trade-ins. And if you for some reason made some mistakes, you can go back and edit the details and it'll change the value. So down here you can see a couple of different things that you can do after you get your value. You can look at new cars and used cars again, or up on above the values we've got the future value tool. But let's first take a look at the average asking price, because the trade-in value and what people are asking for are definitely two different values. A lot of people seem to think that they're going to get the retail price as a trade-in value, and that's not likely going to be the case. In any situation, a used car needs to be reconditioned and brought up to probably a higher standard than most of us are used to driving in our day-to-day in our cars. So we've clicked the average asking price. Let's go through that DXG again. We'll choose the sedan. And this gives us an idea of all the Honda Civics that are listed on our site, that the average asking price for them is $13,000, roughly $13,100, and the average odometer of those cars is 72,500. And on here you can see all the details, and it gives you a little bit of a plot to see where, if you're looking at one of these cars, where the one you're looking at falls in. So you've got the odometers across the bottom and the prices up the top, and you could get a sense of what that vehicle is worth. The other thing I mentioned was the future value, and this is something that's really something we implore people to look at if they're shopping for a new car. This gives you an idea of what the car you're looking at today might be worth in years to come, and it's something that we think a lot of people overlook when they're buying a car. I know personally I probably would start to look at the payment before I look at what the car is going to be worth down the road, but it's definitely something that should be of consideration. So I'm going to go through similar steps as we did with the last two. but we're going to see something completely different at the end. So let's go with the Civic again, and I chose a 2013, but you could choose a 14. And we'll go to future value this time. And the future value for this particular car, let's go with an LX automatic sedan. And assuming it's a new car, we'll put 0 as the current odometer. And I drive 24,000 K. I'm an average Joe. That's what most people travel. Click continue one last time, and it gives you a graph there of what this Civic will likely be worth in the future. So now you can do some comparisons. If you're considering several different models, then you can go through and you can choose to do a comparison between those and get an idea of what your car is going to be worth in the future.
That's a really cool tool, Josh. Now, maybe it might help our viewers to understand where you're getting all this data from. I mean, you guys are Blackbook celebrating its 50th anniversary. Is it this year or next year?
Last year, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, see, there you go. I'm a year behind.
Yeah, so we've been around the Canadian car market for the last 50 plus years now. We were first dealing mainly with dealers, and for the first 50 years almost. In 2010, though, we changed our focus completely, and now we offer consumers all those tools for free. So what we just looked at were free. And that all the values that we have come from our experience with dealing with the wholesale value for dealers. So we go out to auctions, we get data supplied to us by finance institutions, and all that information gets mashed up together, and we have some people who are much smarter than me who come up with what those values should be for the cars based on all the information we collect. So it's a lot of work, but it's definitely something that the industry has recognized. We've been around a long time, and we're really happy that we can provide car shoppers with all that information for free.
You know, that's an amazing tool. Both the ability to find out what your current vehicle's worth, but, you know, looking down the road, because I do think you're right when, you know, people do get hung up primarily when they're buying a new car on, you know, the price, the warranty, all those immediate things they're looking at, but people don't really look down the road to get a sense of, you know, is this car going to be worth half, you know, 60% of what I'm paying for it now, you know, 4 years down the road.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true, Keith.
One of the things I do to everyone who comes on the show, and it's not to put you on the spot or anything like that, and, you know, one thing I always ask our guests, if someone came up to you today and said, Josh, you know, I'm just thinking about getting into the process to buy a brand new car, my first one ever, you know, what would be the top 3 things that you'd recommend they do to start the process off and be sure that they're going in the right direction as they move along?
Yeah, well, that's the $1 million question, I would say. First step is, I think, always ask your friends and family. I mean, the experience that the people around you have is likely going to be repeated if you go the same way. So if they've had a great experience with a particular dealer or a particular brand, why not start there? Why reinvent the wheel? And I think that's a really great place to start. The next thing is, as I say, consider what the car is going to be worth in the future. Because if it's something that's, you know, going to be worth 30% of its value in 4 years' time, well, then that's probably not really a great buy, no matter how cheap your monthly payment is. If you're someone who drives a car into the ground, it's fairly irrelevant. But there's only a few of those people left. I think most people want to run out and get a new car as quickly as they possibly can afford it. So. And then something else that, you know, I've run into quite a lot is people don't really consider insurance costs. That's a huge expense, and it's very variable from one car to the next. So it's, you know, it's heartbreaking if you go in, you fall in love with the car, and then you find out that for some reason this particular car is, you know, nearly twice as expensive to insure than the one that, you know, maybe you would be happy with as well. So, you know, that's something. I grew up around a car dealership, and that's something that we found happen, not regularly, but it happened enough that it's heartbreaking to see people come in and say, yeah, I just can't buy the car, I can't afford to insure it. So that's another avenue that people seldom explore before they start doing the shopping process in earnest.
Well, it's interesting you brought that up, because in one of our future Hangouts, I'm going to bring an insurance broker on just to talk about that. Now, one thing you did mention earlier was one of the cool things about Josh's job. I think he's got one of the best jobs in business. Is he does have the opportunity to test drive pretty much anything that comes into the Canadian market. And I know that you guys have a Mazda 6, and I've been really taken by the new design and that style, particularly the front end of those cars. Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned that maybe you haven't driven it yet, but I was wondering if you had any feedback from any of the staff over there at Canadian Black Book who maybe have driven it.
Yeah, definitely. I have driven it only as far as Mazda's office to our office, which
is about 6 blocks.
Yeah, it's not very far. So, but yeah, it's coincidence that we were speaking beforehand, because David, the guy in our office who's driving it right now, I asked him this morning what his thoughts were, and he's really impressed by the car. The styling, I think, is you nailed it, Keith. I mean, you don't need to drive it to know it's a good-looking car, and that mid-size car segment has been so competitive. All the new entries that come out have been excellent. I mean, but the Mazda 6 has really been something that grabs people's attention, and something that David mentioned specifically was people. He noticed people at stoplights checking it out. Inside is great too. I mean, Mazda's really improved the interior, especially the materials that they're using inside. I think that the styling inside's really a nice style inside as well. Very straightforward layout, but not to the point of being plain, which can be downfalls some of them fall into when they're trying to be straightforward in their style. And it's very quiet. It's a fun car to drive, but it's also quiet, comfortable too. So it's overall it's a great package.
Well, for those people who are out shopping, I think there were 2 other things to add to the top 3 list. One obviously is to go to CanadianBlackBook.com and use that evaluator tool and really get a good sense of not only what your trade-in's worth, but as you showed us, the value of a car that you may consider to buy in the future. And obviously, and quite selfishly, I have to say, coming to NewCarAds.com and investigating what the local offers are, from your dealers, both near and far. So going into the dealership, you have a really good sense of what offers are available. That said, I think we're going to wrap things up for this morning's chat. Appreciate anyone and everyone who's come by to watch with us, and certainly Josh, I want to thank you for coming by and say hello to everyone up at Canadian Black Book that I know this morning. I'd like to thank Debbie Horvich, our production director, social media guru, who handles this for us and makes it look like we know what we're doing, which is the case sometimes. Don't forget, you can visit us on Facebook and on Google+, and also certainly visit our website, NewCarAds.com. Take it for a test drive, tell us what you think, and we always love to hear back from you. So Josh, thanks very much. Have a great weekend.